the other team because there was a fault in it. How do you correct it? So as an umpire, your responsibility, at least a part of your responsibility, is to keep a track of the start time of the game and notify the fielding captain when it started. It could be 10-5, 10-10. What I always do is I make sure the first ball is bowled. If the captain is standing close to me somewhere, I'll just say, hey cap, it's 10:30 right now, or 10-12 right now. And he gets an idea. And after 10 hours, when you get a drinks break or whenever, if he is running late, you are the sole responsibility for keeping the time. Of course, the fielding captain and the bat players has a responsibility, but you are the guy who has to push on them on time. Say it's 11 o'clock. They say, hey man, you got 1 hour to finish 10 hours. Just keep that in your mind. We're not saying go apply penalties. Just don't say anything and say, hey, you have a penalty of 2 hours, 3 hours. Don't do that. Try to be, keep notifying them. It could be the batting team, it could be the fielding team. If the batting team is causing the delay, we have penalties for those too. Technically, any delays, we have penalties around. But keep the time as a factor too. Okay? Let's move on to the next slide. Some of those do's and don'ts here. We already discussed, covered pretty much all of these. One thing I want to make sure that I heard from some of the friends of mine here is umpires are not confident in their decisions. Probably everybody has seen that. Okay? And captains and teams are very smart to spot a bad umpire immediately. Within the first over, the fielding team will know if this guy can be pressurized. If they spot it, man, you are in trouble. Because they will be appealing for every single delivery. Out or not out, they will be running, charging towards you, trying to put you under more pressure. So when you give a decision, I'm not saying it may be a good decision, bad decision. Your decision should be confidence. So when you're raising your finger, don't say, maybe, yeah, out. That's a bad decision. You're not confident. You're giving an out, you give an out. You call a wide, you call a wide. Don't just wait for the batsman to see if he's going to signal you a wide or not. Yeah, no, don't do that. Be confident in your calls. It may be wrong, it may be blundered mistake, but confidence is the key. It's just like if you're playing the game of cricket, when you're batting, confidence is your key. Umpiring, confidence is the key too. If you are not confident, that's the worst day for you. So those are the main things. And of course, you made 3 wrong leg befores. You're not going to get any friendly talk from any of the fielding team. All you hear is whatever language they know, whatever abusive languages they know, they keep talking about it. But don't get aggressive with them. What happens is it's going to make things more worse. If they ask you a question, answer it, make it sweet and short. Don't argue.
Wrong in their mind, right? Could be.
You are correct either way. You are correct always. That's how you look at it. I will give you an example. This happened to my game. Okay, I was officiating a game. Some of the players actually I can see here too. So this was, I think, a 5th wicket or something. I was umpiring. That's one of my baddest decisions ever. The bowler bowls. He's a left-hand batsman. He played a shot. The ball missed by much, but I heard a sound. In my mind, it was out. Okay, I gave it out. All right. When I gave it out, 100% I thought it was out. Right. Then a minute later, those conscience come to your mind. It was lapse of judgment in me. Okay. For a second later, nobody appealed. That just is a first clue that it's not out. Right. Nobody has an excitement. They were surprised as I gave them out. Okay. I don't know what to do. That was a mistake. Then I said, okay, I made a mistake. Can I change my decision? Is there an opportunity to change my decision? Any answers to this? Umpire made a mistake on a decision which is given out. Can you switch your decision?
No. Yes.
Yeah. So within the laws of cricket, there is an opportunity to overturn the decision. But the key word is, how are you going to justify that you're making a right decision next time? I mean on the second switch. How are you going to say, you called it out, now on what basis are you going to call that? You don't have DRS, you don't have video technology, there is no leg umpire. Let's just say if the leg umpire is a neutral umpire, you gave him out thinking that the bat was an edge, then he comes to me and says, hey Raj, I can see it went like side, there is no contact at all. You can take his word because he is a neutral umpire. But now he is a square leg umpire from batting team, you cannot trust him either. So there is no opportunities for switch. The only thing you could do is go and talk to the captain of the fielding team, ask him that you can talk to them bluntly. I spoke to the fielding team that day. I said, I made a mistake. I think he's not out. I didn't see an appeal. What do you guys think? Of course, what is the fielding team is going to do? They want the wicket, right? I'm not going to blame them either. They want the wicket, they got the wicket, they don't care how they got it. They said, fine. Guess what? A mistake has been made. Can I correct it? I have no choice there to correct. But as long as if there is another umpire who is neutral, who has seen a different view, you can definitely go on top. So what we introduced in this year is, we have seen square leg umpires making mistakes or being biased. Right? Sometimes you as a neutral umpire are seeing on the other end, that's a clear run out. But this guy says not out. Because it's not your turf, you cannot do anything there at that point. But we are giving that flexibility to the NU this year. What we are saying is, if that NU is 100% sure that was out or not out, he can overrule the square leg umpire, even if it's an out, even if it does not belong to his territory. Again, the key word is 100% certain. Okay?
But there is no way of measuring these
of course.
things, right?
That's right, 100%.
Arguments.
100% certain. We are giving the authority. When a square leg umpire is ruling it's a no ball for waist height, you have the authority to overrule. There is no tape or there is no measurement either. You are looking at your view, your perspective stands. Okay? So, yeah.
So you said like you get out when no one appeals, right? So ideally you should give out when someone is appealing. So what's that like?
Well, for me, I felt like no one appealed. But somebody said from the long square leg, there was, how is it? Somebody. It's my mistake. And
what's the official like? Do you need to appeal?
Typically, an appeal has to be made. But if umpire gave it out, definitely there is he probably heard of it. So the other thing I did for the same the other thing I did again, I made a mistake that day. So I went, after the innings, I went to the team, I spoke to the player and said, hey listen, that was a mistake I made. And he's like, fine, mistakes happen. When you get that kind of respect is if that guy knows this is a good umpire and he made a mistake. That's when they accept it. But if you keep on making mistakes and keep on saying sorry, they're going to say screw you. Period. So if you develop that potential, players will say, okay, that's fine, it happens. You know, there's no ifs or not against that. By saying sorry, it's not going to make you let down either. You're accepting your fault. That needs courage. You go and tell, I made a mistake, he said sorry, I said sorry, he's fine. End of story. I don't know what happened to that guy that day, he took 6 wickets when he bowled. So, I think that kind of tricked him something else. So, alright, so there's a question on how can a main umpire give something out? How can he show sure? Yes, that's a good question. That's what we are saying. As long as it's 100% certain, that means let's assume the batsman is 2 feet outside the crease. And you can clearly see he never made it, but still the umpire at the square leg says not out. You can know it because you're seeing he's clearly out from your side. So that's the only time we are saying 100% sure. Don't just keep overruling everything. You got to be 100% sure. Any questions here? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What happens when the batsman gets aggressive with that bat?
Well, we have levels of offenses. If you have seen the published document, there is level 1, 2, 3, 4 offenses. So depends upon what kind of offense he's going to get. We will be penalizing them. There is an yellow card that the umpire can issue. I'm not sure if you looked at the document. There is offenses now that's been published officially.
When a batsman is injured but he wants to continue the play, how much time an umpire has to give him to recover?
Good question. So the question in the room again is what happens when a batsman is injured? How long should you wait before the play goes on? There is no specific time anywhere written. Wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You as an umpire has to make a judgment call there. Let's just say if he's having cramps, hamstrings, he cannot stand. He's not going to play the game within 2 minutes, 5 minutes, because he has to eventually run and the cramps will come back. That guy would need a 15-20 minute break, go eat banana or whatever. So don't wait more than 5 minutes, tops 5 minutes. If he's still there, I understand there could be a situation where he's a very critical batsman, but there is no runners we are allowing, so he cannot play anymore. You can say, hey, go take a break, let them come back. If he insists, you have no choice. Talk to the captain and say, hey, we can't stop the game forever.
5 minutes is like very less.
Well, you cannot keep waiting for the game. You start putting a time limit on those, everybody will get cramps.
That's why I asked.
I'm telling you, you put a time limit on it, umpires get a cramp too then.
So what happens if that is the last batsman?
Well, if it's the last batsman, you don't have a choice. See how long, 5 minutes, stops 10 minutes, then it's your call again. NU's discretion. I don't know what's happening there. If he can continue, cannot continue, look at your time, what is your end time for the game, make a call on that.
So it's again the umpire's call, not the opposite captain?
No.
It's always that.
The opposing team captain is engaged. The opposing team captain is engaged in only one situation when there is a change of player from the nominations. That's the only time you seek permission from the opposing team.
Will a batsman be allowed to drink water every over?
No.
Why?
Why would you want to drink water every over? You are not fit? As long as, let me tell you. Yes. It is an umpire concern because unless your water bottles are on the field and you're done. Oh yeah, then that's fine. But what I'm saying is, if you are causing a delay for the game, if your team is coming from outside carrying cold water, running, and for you to take a sip and go back, it could clearly take 30 seconds to 1 minute easy. 20 overs time, 1 minute is 20 minutes of the game time. It may look like 1 minute for there, but if you consider their time.
If a batsman is not making a bowler wait,
that's fine.
not say anything about
That's fine. Drink 2 times in between. I don't mind. But as long as there is no delay, as long as there is no delay that you are causing to the game total time.
it just happened to me and then I was going out the next over. It's because of that. So.
Let's not talk about what happened now. Alright, let's go. Well, any questions?
Let me clear one thing, like everyone here is a player, but think of it in terms of NUs. Today you are NUs.
No,
So it's mainly
as
for
an
NUs.
NU, do I have to say anything if the batsman drinks water?
So NU has to carry the game along. There should not be any delay. That's the main concern. Everything else
I
is.
have something to say. I usually tell them if I see everybody's doing it every over or they're delaying, I would tell them that make sure you drink the water before the bowler is ready. And if they're still drinking water, I'll be like, hey, bowler has been ready, man.
That's what I'm saying. NU has to be smart enough to push the game. And if you see significant delay, yeah, you have, again, we have delayed tactics penalties too. You start applying those penalties, give one warning, everybody will stop drinking water until the warning is gone or he's out. So there is a question in the room. Whose side should an NU take? An angry captain or a tired fielder or a tired batsman? NU is not going to be biased, he's neutral. Let's just say it's extremely hard. We know everybody needs a sip of water, even NUs need a sip of water. We're not going to push there. We're not going to say, hey, you have to stick on time for that game. We understand extreme hard conditions, we are not physically fit as professional players are. We will be lenient. We're asking you guys to be a little bit lenient, not wait for 10 minutes for some guy to bring some cold water from a car that's parked 2 miles away. We don't want that. Keep the game moving as much as possible. Then we can take it from there.
When there is like a break in game due to like cramp or something, a player getting injured, will the time clock stop there or your 85 minutes will be included as part of that?
Good question. So the question in the room again is, will the time get paused when there is an injury? If it's a genuine injury from the fielding side or the batting side, the game can be paused. That time you shouldn't be counting against anybody. That's an injury. There's something you cannot prevent. There is no way you can prevent an injury. But if there is a delaying tactic, right? If this guy is running 3 runs every 4 balls and he's tired, now he wants to take a breather, you will see players asking for a banana, change in bat, change in glove. No need. You can probably say that too. That's when you try to count the time against them. We understand we put the time limits over there. We are asking you guys to enforce it. But again, think about the reality. You are the best judge in that situation. Let's just say if a batsman fall down, dive, his gloves has got dirt, he has everything. He might need a minute or 2 to set him down. He may need to change the gloves. That's understandable. But we don't want the batsmen to keep changing the bat every 2 balls or keep changing the gloves, keep changing the helmet. The one other thing I always see is if there is a spinner and a fast bowler bowling, the delay I see is switch between helmets from the wicket keeper to the umpire or the fielder getting the helmet outside, inside. Those are the delays you can prevent. We can say, if you want helmet, keep it. Don't keep standing back and forth. When I'm doing some games where there are 2 neutral umpires, players will come and ask you to hold helmets. Can you hold? Because they are so adapted that the leg umpire always holds helmet, water bottle. He's like pretty much a portable refrigerator there. Okay? So you always see that. They'll come and ask you and say, hey, can you hold an helmet for me? We'll save time. Sorry, no. It's not your job. You're not. Once you start carrying something for the batting team, the expectancy stays for the other team too. So pretty much you are tired now. If they give you a jacket, you have to hold a jacket. If they give you their underwear, you have to hold their underwear for the entire game. Okay, so you got to keep in mind that when you are there, you are biased. You have to be neutral. That's your role.
I've seen some players, every run they take out their gloves and then they...
We have the delaying tactics. We'll go there and we'll cover that.
So, what if we start game before 10 o'clock? I mean, there's a starting time, and to avoid, to measure the time in like 180 minutes, right? So, if I start by like 9:30, can I still take game?
Yes. So if it's a mutually agreement between the two captains and the umpire, if the umpire is willing to stand half an hour more of his time, if you want to stay, I'm not seeing any problem there. But if one team complains, or if the umpire complains, you can do it. Our rules stay.
So regarding the swap time, right? So what if like ball loss or something? Some of the grounds we are searching the ball for something. So is that count or?
So, okay, the question in the room again is what happens in a situation when the ball is lost. So I'm not sure if you guys made aware of this change in playing conditions in ICC. Earlier players used to call a lost ball. If players cannot find it, they used to call lost ball and everything stops there. Now it's not players call anymore, it's umpire's call. Umpire is seeing what's happening. If the ball goes into a field, that's not a time you can deduct against the fielding team because the field is not something you will control. So you have to exclude that time from you. Again, how do you keep a track of all this? A lot of things happening. There are substitutes coming in, you are losing balls, you are losing a lot of time in bits and pieces. How do you keep a track of this? Any answers? How do you keep a track of all this happening?
Note down the time and then the
Time start.
Okay, note down, but where? So you as an umpire always need to carry something called an umpire sheet. Can you open this one? There's another sheet. I'm not saying carry the same exact piece of paper that I'm going to share, but you can build your own spreadsheet or you can take a printout, pass it on. Just pass it on so they can take a quick look at it. There is an umpire match card that I carry. I always keep time of what's happening. The reason why I keep a track of all those is definitely if something like this happen, people will come back and question you saying, hey, we didn't do the delay, we know nothing happened. We are perfectly fine, why are you penalizing us? You can tell them, at 10th over, there is 1 minute delay because you did something. 2 minutes delay you did because something. This is just for justification. If something where you have to incur a penalty, which may not happen in MCT, I'm not saying it could happen, it may not happen. It may happen depending upon who the umpire is. So if ever something like that happened, you have a proof, you have a documented proof that you saved everything on the paper. Show them. There is no, you can pass it on to, let's say if there is a penalty you ever put on, the teams will come back to the rules committee or the PEC and say, hey, this umpire is very, biased on other team, he put a penalty on us. What is his proof there? What is NU's defense? There is no defense for NU. He will say, no, I didn't do it. They cannot take that word. There need to be some kind of a proof. That's your proof. You send a picture of it and say, hey, this is my timing. Can you cross-question this? No. Umpire's papers are always official. Forget about what happens on the other part of the team can keep a score or track of all this, but umpire keeps a track of the times. If the umpire paper says there is a 10-minute delay from your team, it's a 10-minute delay.
There is one question.
Go ahead.
I was going through the rules document and I know fielders cannot make lateral movements when the bowlers are.
We'll cover that when it comes to the fielder section.
The question is on the wicket keeper.
Yes, we'll cover this. We have that, we'll cover. So one other thing I want to specify, this last line. You made a mistake in the game, okay? You gave somebody a wrong leg before, you know that. Or you gave an edge, caught wrong, you know that. Don't try to crack that mistake by making another mistake. Don't feel like you owe the team, okay? Never feel like that. You say, oh man, I gave this guy leg before, let's not give me any more leg before. Don't ever think like that. We have science that says 2 negatives make 1 positive. Don't apply that science here, please. We don't do that. One decision is made, you move on. You don't even think about it. You gave a leg before, you move on. Let's just say you didn't give a leg before. The bowler comes to you and say, why didn't you give a leg before? He has every right to question. Don't just turn around and say, it's my job, man. I will give whatever I want. Don't say that. That's going to piss off the bowler. Just be polite and say, hey, you know what, I think it's missing off stump. That's my view. Bowler is happy, you are happy, move on. So be polite, at the same time, don't think about the previous mistakes, but that's going to cause you more mistakes. Right.
One more question. I mean, regarding MBWs, can bowler ask for a justification and you say, you know, is pitching outside,
Yes.
impact outside off?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying,
pitch
right?
outside leg. Can you give the justification?
Yes. NU, so okay, let me put this.
So like,
can NU
yeah, the
justify
question is
this?
the other way around. Can the bowler ask for a justification?
Yes,
Okay.
totally. So it's again up to NU. He can explain it. Some NUs may not be able to explain it, but they know the decision. But it's totally up to the NU. But it's always nice and polite. You explain it to your bowler. Give it or not out, you tell him why it was not. That's always a good gesture. So let's go actually coming to. We didn't come to the last yet. Okay, let's go start last. All right. How many laws are there in total in ICC? Anybody knows? Okay, before that, there is go ahead, hit one more. Alright. So official laws are 42 from ICC. There is one additional law. Okay? What is that additional law? That's not written anywhere in any book. It's law 43, common sense. That's a law, that's a hidden law, that's an open law, you can put it. Common sense applicable anywhere, everywhere you think. Out of all the 42 laws, you know, there are a lot of gray areas. What happens this, how do you do this, there is no certain direction you can say I will do this for sure. That's where your common sense comes in picture. Just like you guys are asking, how do I judge if it's a injury, what if he's faking it, all that stuff. That's all common sense. That's not written anywhere. So apply common sense everywhere and anywhere. Good. So this question is again, who writes the laws? Don't say MCT's rules committee. But who owns this? Melbourne Cricket Club, MCC, is the one who actually writes the laws. Okay? Most of us think ICC laws, ICC rules. Rules and laws, that term is only applicable to that club. They've been doing this from the 18th century. Those guys write the playing conditions. They are hosted in England. They have a team of ex-officials, England, board members and stuff like that. These guys are the ones who actually sit and change the laws and everything. Then what happens next? How do people say, go ahead, next. Well, how do people say ICC playing conditions? What does ICC do? So what ICC does is, once the MCC publishes their version of playing conditions, MCC does not care about third umpire. MCC does not care about TV replays and all that stuff. ICC is the one that cares. So what they do is ICC have a panel of people who go and sit with MCC folks and see what conditions they apply, what they cannot apply. So remember, ICC is not an entity that owns the laws, just like MCT. What we are doing is we are taking a copy of ICC, we are changing those to our needs, to our grounds, to our players. Same thing ICC does. They'll think about it and they say, okay, this is what we could do, this is what we cannot do. So there, if you look at MCC laws from the lords.org website, and if you compare it with ICC playing conditions, there will be discrepancies between those. The good example I will give you is, when a spinner is bowling a waist high full toss, right? In ICC, they don't care who is bowling. As long as it's above waist height, you call him a bowler. It could be a spinner, it could be a fast bowler, it could be a medium pace bowler. We don't differentiate between the bowlers. Whereas MCC, when you look at their playing condition or laws, they'll say a spin bowler, a fast bowler. They will differentiate it. We don't adapt that. We adapt ICC. That's like a small example. All right. Everybody has done live umpiring. Okay. Go ahead. There is a video there next page.
I think it's not sure.
Hang on. Let me go. I'll show you a video, guys. It's time? I'm not going out. So probably, I don't know if you guys seen this video. This video is relatively taken when we had this big controversy of Steve Buckner, Australia. If you guys remember what happened, Sydney tests, there were a lot of judgments. So they said, okay, let's make a video on, take a call on how you guys think is, some decision that you could make. So I'm gonna take this video. All right.
Let's have a look at the umpire's view of what happens in a cricket match. Let's go. First one. Let's see what you got. He's back.
All right. Have you guys seen it? You want me to play it one more time? That's all you get. You are able to see it only once in MCT. You're not getting a replay. All right, let's do it again. Pay attention, okay?
We're getting back page after page. Let's have a look at the umpire's view of what happens in a cricket match. Let's go. First one. Let's see what you got.
That's all you're getting. Any calls? How many? I don't know. Right now I'm not an umpire, I'm just a presentation guy, so I have no idea.
No, it's too high.
Alright, let's see what happens.
Take it across, and the keeper's gone up. Have you given it? Was it out? Very close. Line, does it hit him in line? I think it does. I think that's hitting at the line of off stump, going on to hit the stumps. I reckon he's absolutely plumb on this occasion. Obviously not going over the top, it's hitting about halfway up the pad, handing into about, I'd say, middle and off. I'm giving that. See you later, Michael. Now we've got some pressure on Slats. The spinner has come on in a test match, and we'll see, maybe the decision is, did he hit it or not when he's on the front foot?
So what do you guys think? That was a clean catch. Is it out or not out? How many outs? Alright, let's watch it.
Now did he hit that? That's all I want to know. I know I didn't catch it, but did he hit it? Your decision at home. There were certainly a couple of noises. I've got a feeling it might have been bat on pad. Not something that looks super slow-mo. Past the inside edge of Michael Slater's bat onto his knee roll and then up in the air. Now, that's where it does get difficult for umpires because there were certainly two noises there.
Don't trust Ian Healy.
Is the first video of normal speed?
Yes.
Or do you expect, like, you know?
Just regular speed, that's all.
You made a decision at home? Let's listen to Tubby. Now bear in mind, he's got to pitch this ball in line and then straighten it down the line. Pitches probably just outside off, and I don't think it's come back enough. And it's also a little bit high. So the batsman probably survives. My decision is not out. So that's got very short legs, and umpire has to be very aware of that.
I wish every ball is like that. I can give all the decisions perfectly.
So get away with wearing youth pants. Where'd the ball pitch? Is he bowling over or around the wicket? How much is the wicket turning? Did he play a shot? Let's have a look at how Michael Slater goes against the spin again.
Alright, so this one, what's your take? Out, not out?
Not out.
Why not? He didn't play a shot.
He did not play.
Alright, let's watch it.
Now this ball's hitting him outside on the off stump, but because he's not playing a shot, he can be given I think it's definitely too big enough to hit the stumps, but it may have gone too far to miss leg stump. Now that's one of those real 50-50 ones where I think umpires can certainly give that out, particularly under the pressure of day 4, day 5 wicket that's taken. I've certainly seen decisions like that.
So these are some things that we're going to discuss how we can come to a conclusion. I'm just showing you what kind of an impact it could happen, how fast it is, how fast as an NU you're going to make decisions. Okay?
But out before,
So let's not worry about that.
take the bales off who aren't there.
This is if you are a neutral umpire, you're standing at square leg looking for a stumping, okay? You guys are watching for a stumping now.
Tell me, Licky, we've ever seen. Oh, that's handy. That is a really good one. The foot was out, then it was up in the air, then it was down. What do you think you've got? I've given you a decision now before Tubby gets to talk technology. The good news for the umpires is they do get the technology on the stumpers these days, and that's why.
So based on that evidence, if that happens in MCT, what is your call? I don't blame you guys. I don't blame you. If I was there, my call is not out too. That is highly, it's not for naked eye to tell you if that thing happened in real time. It's going to be really, really hard. Because of that video technology, you're watching all that. But for us, for me, if I am there, that's a not out call for me. That's how I look at it.
I think the first instinct would be out because he moved his feet.
it's very, very hard to find it. What I'm saying is, if that decision goes on field in ICC games as well, umpire really finally close and say, I'm going to go third umpire. That's because they cannot make a judgment. To me, right now I'm like my view is right there. I can't judge it. I'm going to call it not. When you are not certain, when you are not confident, don't call it. Right? Let's go back to the presentation. Alright, so we have lots of stuff to cover and just in start.
Is there going to be a break?
He's good, sir.
Are you tired already?
Yeah. We need a break.
Oh my god.
You guys need a break or we can continue?
Alright. I have 28 slides to go, guys. We have only 7 we covered. So if you guys want to take a break, I'm fine with it. I'm not taking a break. Let's go and keep it moving. Alright, so let's come back to the questions. So, what is the most difficult decision for an umpire? Right, for any player to take or accept? What is the most difficult one, you think? Yes, 100% LBW. One decision where umpire is the sole judge of it. Batsmen are always, their mind, no matter how you stand in front of the stumps, you lift the bat, it's plumb, you still say nada. That's batsman. But there is a reason why you are an NU, right? You have to focus. Let's see what things you can focus. Guys, this is going to be a critical one. I can tell you there is a question on this. So be careful, and that's going to be the highest scored question in the exam. So pay attention to it. Let's go. We published this flow chart already in the MCC document. I don't know if you have seen it, MCT document. So there are some conditions that you have to consider for a leg before. Okay? So just being an umpire, just you know that if the ball is going to hit the stumps or not is not going to make you a good decision, make it a good decision for leg befores, right? So think about some situations or some flow charts or how you calculate, how you get to that decision is the critical point. First of all, the first scenario was the ball a fair delivery or not. If it's a no ball, rest of that does not matter. No ball, not like before, done. Okay, then the fair delivery is passed. So the question, did the ball pitch in line with the stumps or outside the line of off stump? So I'm a right-hand batsman, you guys are bowling to me, so I'm standing right here. You as an umpire right now has to make a judgment. If the ball is pitching outside the off stump or is in line with my stumps, so I can hit it. If I missed it, what happens? These are all the mathematical calculations, pretty much I should say, or visionary calculations you have to do to make a decision. So one other situation you always consider is the ball pitch in the stumps or offside. Was the first impact, the point of impact is striker's person, which means body, and not the bat or hand holding the bat. So what you are looking at is where is the impact, whether it's outside the off stump or in line with the stumps, or is it hitting your, not the bat, the pad, thigh, leg, you are bending. Remember that famous decision where Sachin was given out when he was bending and the ball hit the shoulder.